just do it. It'll turn out okay. And today I am with two, technically three people on the side chat here to talk about what they do. You all want to introduce yourselves to the audience?
Well, all right, I'll skip myself up. I'm that Team 4-star MasakoX guy who voices the Goku and stuff, who likes the muffins. Yeah, that's me.
I'm Sophie B, co-host over on the What If Roundtable with MasakoX, and also amateur Dragon Ball What If YouTuber. Yeah, and I'm also a school bus driver in my day job. So
nice. Your kids well behaved? Will they all like sit down?
For the most part, they're well behaved. I'm fortunate enough that I live in a very small rural area, so I don't have very many on the bus, which is always very fortunate.
Random age, like big kids, little kids.
Since I drive for all of the grades, I have the full gamut. Up at the front of the bus, we seat like the kindergartners and the youngest kids, and then at the very back of the bus, we put all of like the oldest high schoolers and stuff like that. So,
hey, look who made it!
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, it's the Forsaken guy.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, I had to use my phone. So,
Oof.
So Havorok, you want to introduce yourself? The other two have already.
Okay, so I'm the least talented part of this trio.
Oh, don't you start!
Oh, no.
Don't you start with that! I will slap you all the way from across the countryside.
So yeah, I bring the funny sidekick vibes. You know? As well, I'm a man of 1,000 voices and only one accent. My name is Havorok, and I help Masako on his channel with co-writing.
Yeah, so we're a ragtag team, but we managed to make things work.
Make it work.
90% of the time.
Yeah. So how did you two come together for your roundtable thing?
Well, it all started. We have to go back. Cast our mind back to 2017. The MasakoX channel had just gone past 200k, and I got a message from Hav, who had a really cool idea for a discussion on color theory and Super Saiyans.
Oh, I remember that.
And it was essentially Hav just go, hey mate, I've got this really cool script for you, and essentially just like and I had a look at it, or just the theories, and I was like, wow, this is really good. So we penned the script together, and I believe that discussion is the first one to get over 1 million views. I think it's just over 1 million, or
it was a pretty big video, and that was that's just coming from me having seen it as just a viewer.
And I still think it holds up. I think it holds up to this day.
It's pretty good. I will say that you never quite know with the way that the current manga kind of flounders here and there, but
like, you never know. I mean, it depends what Dragon Ball Super wants to do.
I mean, reading culture is part of reinterpretation stuff. So hey,
yeah, and then so I presume that given that that's where you and Hav's relationship sort of started as a writer, that just goes on to me. I failed the auditions for Dragon Ball R&R and decided to join as a producer over on the Patreon. And then after the initial fangirling of, oh boy, I get to be in a Discord with MasakoX, eventually, when Masako started sharing script ideas and what if ideas and stuff like that, I was one of the few people who would actually take him to task when I thought that his writing was going off the rails, or like, this doesn't make sense at all. This is not very good, Mas. You need to fix this.
Yeah, be like, even in the what if this character would do this, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so that yeah, and for most YouTubers, they were pretty much like set the fan dogs on Sophie, but for me, it's like, okay, all right, I was doing all right, okay. In that case, let's work together.
I remember this quite differently. Half, mate. Do you think that Sophie will accept this one?
Yeah, it's like, will Sophie like this one?
It kind of started as I think it sort of does in this sort of situation, is that Moss was trying to write scripts for the female character centric what ifs, and they were turning out rather odd choices in there at some points, particularly with what if Goku was female was the big one that I kind of stepped in and was like,
yeah,
you need help.
Yeah, I openly admitted it by saying, like, look, I think, yeah, we definitely need to I definitely need help, and I'm willing to take the help.
Yeah.
So
I'm
willing to take the H.
Yeah, exactly. And so from there, when Masako and Havorok started talking what ifs and stuff on the round table, I basically said, hey, if you guys want a third member, and particularly one who lives in the States, since neither of you do, and most of your fandom is probably coming from the States, and your guys are going to be, it's going to be 9 p.m. where you're at. You're going to be tired. You want somebody to keep up the energy of it. You already work with me. You know that I know my stuff. So,
yeah. And yeah, it helped. It basically helped with just kind of like having that extra dynamic, and ultimately just it meant that we then moved on to the round table. Yeah. And just, it meant that we could just kind of like have that extra thing of like all the three of us talking with each other about making things work. And also just really be able to just interact with the fandom. And that's how the round table came about. And also as a means to help support the channel. So it meant that we could like have a means of, kind of extra kind of like brain power. And of course, funds really to help the channel. And
it really does help.
Yeah, it really does. And we have a lot of regulars there, so it's always nice to see them. And we get a lot of ideas, and we do credit people, and it really helps. I personally believe in the wisdom of crowds. Crowds, I think, a collective. They do tend to know what they're talking about, and so ultimately, I feel like it's like. It's good to kind of like nurture that and not try and be like, oh, we're only going to do ideas about what we want to do. No, it's just like, what about the ones that eventually we like the ideas that are being user generated? And I mean, in fact, the April Fool what if for this year is, and I think for quite a few years previously, has ultimately stemmed from the round table. And I can't wait for that to come out. And have I heard some rustling from you?
Yeah, there's some popping over on your end. Are you eating or something? Or
I think it might be static.
Oh, it's static. Oh. Yeah, we can't even hear your voice. It's a pickup problem.
Oh. I was wondering what that was, but well,
so speaking of the April Fool what if, did you ever? I think when you first did it, I think you said you planned to do it only a one-off. Then for some reason it got popular. You kept continuing it.
That's been true for a couple of those April Fool what ifs.
yeah, kinda. But it's just ultimately though we were just kind of we liked the idea, and now it's like we make it a tradition, and it means the whole purpose of the April Fool what ifs is that you can. Oh, Hav's internet died. That's why. But the whole point of the what ifs is that it just meant that we could have something which was a little bit more bonkers, a little bit sillier, because we were like quite determined to just go, look, we just want to like have something relatively we want to have things that are sort of grounded in reality, whereas these ones with the April Fools we can just go, okay, all right, we can just do something completely stupid, not have to worry about the parameters of Dragon Ball too much, and then just sort of have fun with it.
Yeah, I might be misremembering this, but wasn't your Revelation F thing originally April Fool's What If?
No, that was Christmas. That was sometimes I go with the whole idea of the Christmas miracle, as in like that usually ends up either being one that we do for the entire month of December, or it's one that we do that is like one thing I said I would never do.
Yeah,
So
the
like,
Revelation F what if Frieza turned good stemmed originally from the fact that a lot of people asked for a what if Frieza turned good what if, and everyone on the round table, like we all on the round table were pretty firm on like that doesn't make any sense for Frieza, and then eventually Moss decided to do it, and now look where he's at.
Yeah, well, it's now one of the most watched full story videos on the channel, and it continues to get views. That and the Gine one, but the Frieza one in particular, that one I managed to find a way to make it work that seemed somewhat grounded in reality. In that, the only way you can make Frieza even remotely redeem himself to the point of at least neutrality is just to get rid of absolutely everything that he has. Like, strip Frieza back to his component parts and try and cope, really. So that's what we try and do. We just try and get it so he can actually have a moderately accurate story, but remaining true to himself.
Yeah.
Boy, the machines are rebelling against me today. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
again. Welcome back for ever how long you can stay here.
And as far as the April Fool's what ifs go, I think the one that like the first truly popular one that wound up being like, okay, I guess we'll continue this was what if Broly turned good, right?
Yeah, that Broly one.
And
Which
it was
basically
before
us doing the Iron Giant before Broly movie.
Yeah. It was before Dragon Ball Super Broly came out, and the new Broly turned out to be a good soft boy. So
yeah, I mean the thing is though, if you're gonna have something like that, you need to have it. So that means that he has the general that Broly has to have amnesia. And he has to then sort of like forget that he has these issues. And you have to sort of give him like stability. And that there's nothing to worry about. And that he is basically, give him the Goku treatment. He hits his head. He then forgets everything. He then gets raised by Goten and Trunks, who are his best friends. And then he looks up to Gohan. He basically kills Babidi and Boo in one go. In one thing. He just one-shots the Boo saga away, and it's like, oh, okay.
Many people do not remember, but this is where the potato, like us calling Babidi the Potato Man originally.
Oh yeah, we do, because he's knobbly, he's got spots on him, he's the color of a potato, so we usually just call him the little potato that could.
Yeah, I think my favorite what if you guys did is the what if the Hercules learned the actual key tactic?
What if Hercule trained with Goku?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, it's been a while since I've touched that one.
Which you also kind of did in your other which you kind of what's the word
Oh, and
replicated.
Boxer's What If? What if Goku
Boxer's
landed
What
in
If, but
Capsule?
at a much earlier age. They met much
Mm.
earlier.
That Goku, Boxer, and Mark, we call him, because
Yeah.
he doesn't take the Hercule persona. They meet when they're much younger.
We
And
have certain
I
fondness for that one, and we have certain fondness for that one. And sorry that I interrupted, Sophie, but just
it's okay. It's okay.
And this is one of those that we have massive plans for. Like this What If is one of those that might be the last railroad. Right, later on, I had some interesting railroad conversation with one of the fans in the comments lately. So
Yeah. I have
again,
a deep fondness for that particular iteration of Goku, especially. Boxer is a very very fun concept. balancing Goku as he is versus him being raised in a house full of a house full of intellectuals, and thus being at least some degree, smarter and more capable in certain different ways. And then the odd friendship he has with Mark, aka Hercule.
Yeah,
and he's basically what the Gohan is now in Super, but much earlier.
Yeah, and I think it's only really come alive since part 12 about just how handy Boxer actually is.
yeah,
That it's only now where you realize, wait, he's actually a really good main character. Like, he thinks things through, and it's totally not like Goku. In fact, you could almost say Boxer is the antithesis of the What If Goku defeated Roshi Goku, who's an absolute jerk.
That might have been not incidental.
Well, either way, if you've seen part 13, that is an incredibly big moment for the story.
Yeah, I think I like the part where Goku could make him laugh, Kinkai laugh, like, but hey, your car, you have a car, I can fix your car. Like, what?
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't really know much jokes, but I can fix your car. Wait, what? You can do that? And it's like, oh, all right, kid, you're all right. You know what, kid? You're all right.
I was so excited when I came up
for the car.
Yeah. I was so excited to came up with this, but because I'm like, wait a minute, we can use that, and
we made Boxer a mechanic, and King Kai has a car.
Yeah, like this is like this made
and a
so
really
much
nice
sense.
classic car to boot.
Yeah.
So I mean, he definitely wants to take care of that.
I would say they are even like they may have better initial relationship than Goku had with King Kai, because they are like both car buddies.
Yeah, they have a good affinity with one another, certainly.
Yeah. So a lot of people know Masako here from being the voice of Goku/Gohan, but before I even knew what Team 4-Star was, I watched him in two other series, Naruto and the one with the transforming girls.
Kempfer.
Yes.
Okay. Kempfer actually came afterwards in 2009, and this was off the back of me wanting to come up with a story on my own back, and I saw this series called Kempfer, and it was stupid. It was incredibly dumb, in that it's just this guy who can turn into a girl, but he's not Ranma, and ultimately it's about these girls who can change into fighting girls with different powers and colors, red versus blue, basically. And then you get loads of lore in the first 3 episodes. Then between episodes 4 and 9, you get nothing. It's just a slice of life anime. Then suddenly the story comes back in the beach party episode, of all places. And then suddenly it remembers, damn, we got a story. And then ultimately you find out at the end, oh, no, it's just the only reason you all fight is because these 2 superpowers can't be bothered to fight themselves. So you fight their battles for them. So basically. And so with Kempfer Abridged, I basically thought, you know what, let's just turn this into Team Fortress 2. It's just, it's Team Fortress 2. And then for the entire thing, what character is Natsuru, basically? And you find out at the end, he's Pyro. He's the Pyro. He
Really?
transcends to his true power, and he gets a gas mask. And I also because I remember tabling the idea with Taka when we first went to a convention for Team 4-Star, and he was offering to help with the script for a lot of it, and he played the Heavy, which is the main love interest's Kempfer form. So he was like, "I am heavy weapons girl," and stuff like that. I remember it fondly. There are some jokes that have not aged well, and I'm in two minds about whether to repost it or not. But I'm like, probably not.
Just put a disclaimer on it, like all of the major movie companies and stuff like that these days who aren't super satisfied with the messaging or the jokes or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just
but
put
also,
it in there and be like, it was a different time, and I was a different person, and the internet was a different place. So
yeah, but
So
I remember.
Sorry. I was asking, did they take it down because of copyrights, or did you just take it down like, no, I'm not, this is stupid?
No. It's just I think it was just I took them down off my main channel basically just in because the first one got nobbled, and I was like, no, I'm not having this happen to my main channel. I'm not having it happen, so I took them down. I've got the files, and they've been uploaded in various places, and then I've taken them down again. I'm still conflicted about whether to actually repost them again. But yeah, I might. We'll just see how things go.
well, and if you really wanna decide like whether or not to post them, you can always do the bit where you could be like, hey, join the Patreon or become a Masa-like member, and post the videos in unlisted format so that the links can be shared via Patreon or whatever. That way, the videos will be less likely to get hit by different stuff, and it'll only be for the fans who, like as not, will not be hyper judgmental about it.
Excuse me, Soph. We call them masochists. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
So what about
the biggest fans for a long time? I usually call my fans masochists.
So what about your Naruto one? Was that your idea too, or your partner?
That was a joint effort, actually. That was part of the fact that Vegeta 3986 and I were on the Voice Acting Alliance right back in the day, and we got talking, and we made like some fan dubs of Chobits and stuff like that because we liked the show, and then I did an audition for Chibi Vampire Kari in a certain episode. And he voiced the main character in that. And then we did like some gag fake outtakes at the end of it. And that was the beginnings of making an abridged series. And then we saw LK's Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. And we thought, well, why don't we do the same with Naruto? That's an anime we sort of both watch. So we just did that, really. And it was like surreal with the fact that we actually had Martin doing a cameo in our first episode, which had never happened with any other series ever before. So it was just sort of validation. But those first 6 episodes, we really got loads of flack, like going, how dare you do this? Little Karibo did it, no one else can do it, even though it's a totally different series. And then it took about like by episode 7 people started to ease up about it. But those first few episodes were really precarious, let's just say.
Yeah, like I said, I watched those things way before I even knew your Goku's voice.
Well, those came out in 2006. I mean, 2006 was the birth of abridging in its anime form, really. So Martin created it, and we sort of made it possible for others to do the same format or a similar format. So. And then from there, I met Lanny, Kaiser when they were doing all their own series, Taka, and we then just thought, well, let's do Dragon Ball, and then everything came together, as you know.
So was making that series making Goku dumb? You or them or both?
Well, that was Toriyama's idea.
True.
Well, the thing is, though, Goku isn't really dumb.
No,
he isn't dumb when you look at him as an overall character. And I made a discussion video, and I'm really happy about this one. Is that it's about the idea of Goku being, sure, we really are being unfair about how we judge his overall intelligence. In that he's not dumb in certain other ways, like in for nature kinetic for kinetic intelligence. Well, it's Goku. Survival intelligence, yes. And in terms of nature, he knows how to live off the land and be able to not poison himself. So he knows what to do in that regard. And so it's just the way we define natural intelligence these days is mathematical. So of course, don't give Goku math problems. He won't do them. He can't.
He's not an intellectual. He doesn't have textbook smarts.
Exactly.
Like nowadays, I tend to read DBZ Goku and a lot of interpretations of Goku, not as essentially dumb, but as disinterested in many things that are not fighting.
Yeah, no, that's true. In that, just because Goku may not necessarily be dumb. He just simply doesn't care. Like, I don't care about math. Basically.
Math can help teach you how to punch harder.
I think a lot of what people wind up ripping on Goku for is that the quote unquote being dumb is actually just largely conflated with the fact that Goku as written by Toriyama, Goku as intended by Toriyama, is a much more selfish character than, especially when it comes to the Western fan base, the more heroic archetypes that people are used to seeing. And even in Dragon Ball Z, as it came to the States, in the anime proper, even in Japan, this was an issue that Toriyama had. And then it was made even more so in the West. But they wanted to make Goku more heroic, more noble, and then as time goes on, especially now that it's made its sort of comeback and Dragon Ball Super is a thing, both anime and manga, and Toriyama is back to being like, no, this is how Goku is. It's reminded everybody that Goku is a very selfish character who likes what he likes and doesn't like what he doesn't like and doesn't put up with it if he has no interest in it. And I think that gets conflated with the whole Goku's an idiot thing to just kind of cause this cascading effect of sort of hating on Goku. But yeah.
No, I would absolutely agree.
Yes, well, so speaking of anime coming to the States, I personally have divided that into 3 categories.
Okay.
One, I dub it the speed racer category, where the lip flaps and the voices don't match at all.
Okay.
If you ever watched that anime back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Like blah 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 blah. They start saying it. 2 is the 2 I dubbed the 90s, early 2001, were they like the Sailor Moon, Digimon, original Dragon Ball Z dub, where the lip flaps and stuff are much better, but they're all filled with like American puns or whatever.
They try to make them more like American cartoons
or references, and then where like and I watched it like the say the Digimon one. Well, one thing was like the guy is like, I gotta get to the land before I drown. And the Americans were like, oh no, my fur is dry clean only.
Some of the jokes in Digimon were pretty good, even though if for translation localization purists, it's a sin to do anything other than the direct 100% accurate translate 100% literal translation.
And then the current one is, I think, mostly the current crop of them is more accurate to the translation. We did the Sailor Moon one with the actual English actual dub, and they actually kept the episodes that originally got cut from the original Sailor Moon thing.
Oh.
Imagine living in a country when if you got a dub of the anime in the 90s, it was usually from double translation. So all of those weird jokes were even butchered in my country because they had to translate it from English, because at the time there weren't many Polish Japanese translators in my country. So those jokes are even worse here.
Yeah. Like when I originally watched the first Sailor Moon season back in the 90s, it was 40 episodes. But then later I found out in Japan it was 46 episodes, and they had a 2-part season finale, which we cut off just one episode because we cut so much stuff out of it, like it became one episode.
Oh.
So,
And that's still largely true with certain kinds of localization and stuff like that. But now it's gotten a little bit easier, but because people have a greater appreciation for what is, for the Japaneseisms of anime production and stuff like that. So now that people are more familiar with it, it's not so, oh my gosh, this isn't Western enough for the UK or America or what have you.
It's quite opposite. It's too much. It's too Western.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of that was in the 3rd season of Sailor Moon, where they had the lesbian couple, Sailor Rain and Sailor Neptune, and like I said, they can't be that. They're cousins.
They made them cousins in the old Deke run or whatever,
They still kept their touchy feeliness with each other. I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
I don't
know.
Is kissing cousins better?
No.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just like I saw a BBC article the other day, and it was mainly about like how, because it was talking about the new Jujutsu Kaisen movie, which apparently is like second in the UK box offices right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's like how Japanese animation has taken the West by storm, and I'm like, you're kidding me, right? You're kidding me, right? Anime's been around since the 80s. What? What are you talking about?
In the West, especially whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the Americas, anime has been a thing. It's just never been box office smashing levels until the more recent decades, unless you counted hyper specific instances of very like the Disney of anime situation, like with Studio Ghibli. People would recognize Studio Ghibli movies as being like different from normal anime because a lot of the time they wound up localized by Disney companies, Disney subsidiaries, or even Disney themselves, or just they sold themselves a lot like an animated Disney movie. But the thing is like anime as a whole, like anime had its own dedicated sort of spot in Western media for a long time, starting in the 80s and stuff like that, with like moving into the early 90s with like movies like Akira, shows like they took Macross and one of the others, Robotech, I think is what they did by basically doing a mashup of 2 or 3 different animes that included Macross. But like it was always niche is the thing. It was always niche. And now when a movie can come out like Demon Slayer, the Demon Slayer movie, or Dragon Ball Super Broly, or Jujutsu Kaisen, and be a box office smash, it flabbergasts people, even though this buildup has been happening for decades.
Also, a lot of people who grew up with anime and Japanese animations are currently managing this stuff, so people are more aware. Like this is something that could realistically weird out older generation, but no one in modern life, to be quite honest.
So
Yeah.
what was your all first introduction to Japanese media in the dub version or sub version?
Oh, that would be my brother, basically. He collected VHS tapes from Manga Entertainment, God rest their soul. Now merged into Funimation and now merged again into Crunchyroll. But basically, he had loads of different anime and stuff, and he had like things like the Fatal Fury OVAs, Project Echo, Dominion Tank Police, and I was watching this. I was watching these when I was 11, and Tank Police is badass. It's like seriously. Like if honestly, I know that the original dub from Central Park Media, I think the dub license is expired. So I'm actually tempted to like go, hey, why don't I try and pick it up for my if I get a million
Get that
subscribers?
license.
Yeah,
I want to voice the character.
Yeah, but then I can then do a remix of "Keep Your Body Moving." The cat twins striptease dance. Yeah, make a remix of that, and I cast myself as the police guy who's the priest. You know, it says, "Now shalt have your ass be kicked, my brother." It's just like and of course the ultimate deterrent.
Beautiful.
But anyway, no. But suffice to say, my brother had loads of classic '90s anime from Masamune Shirow, mostly Ghost in the Shell, etc. And then on TV, there was things like Fox Kids. They had Samurai Pizza Cats and Sailor Moon.
Pizza Cats.
Here you come when you want some pepperoni. Hey, I'm totally not like the B-52s. It's like stuff like that. But yeah, in any way, those would be the go-to anime, and then from there, I just sort of found various things. I watched Urusei Yatsura on VHS and all that stuff. Classically underrated anime. It's actually getting a reboot by David Production, same studio that do JoJo. And bizarrely, I found out that Stone Ocean has got the B team from David Production. I'm like, what?
Now that's very interesting.
You're not giving JoJo the main staff. Oh, the Urusei Yatsura dub's getting the oh, wow, okay,
wow, indeed.
Well, in any case, I then found the internet. I could then buy DVDs and watch anime or pick anime that I want, and it was somewhere from there.
My story is much the same because my older brother also is the one who kind of introduced the family largely to anime because he also collected VHS tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. We would go to Suncoast Video, and the hilarity of it is that a lot of the tapes and stuff that they had were actually VHS era fan subs, which was really hard to do because you needed specialized hardware in order to get the subtitles onto the VHS. But it's the first place where I saw Berserk. I was not age appropriate to watch that show, but I watched it anyway. The original anime run of Berserk. We would wind up watching fan subs as they were coming out as well during the Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece era of dominating Shonen Jump in the early 2000s. And then like my first real kind of forays into anime were still generally what kids of my generation had with the Fox Kids block, where you had Digimon, and you had and then like over on Toonami you had Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, the original Saban Entertainment owned and dubbed run of Dragon Ball with the Ocean Group, which was it has a very special place in my heart and mind because boy, were those some iconic moments. But it became such as well that I think part of the reason why I hold subtitlers and localizers anime to a very high standard is because of the fact that the fan bases were so intense when it came to wanting anime to be more accurately represented in the West, because so often they would cut the more intensely like culturally Japanese aspects of a show or what have you. That fan subbers really kind of took it as a challenge to try and make sure that the fan subs would be as accurate and also almost educational as possible, which is where that whole like joke with that ancient joke as far as like keikaku means plan and stuff like that comes from, is that fan subbers got really into providing context in the subtitles at the top of the screen.
My favorite joke about this is that Nakama from Prozidis.
Oh, of course, he is my Nakama.
But yeah, that was kind of how I got into anime and manga and stuff like that.
What about you, Havorok?
So my story will be a little bit different because I come from a bit different cultural circle than the rest of you folk. So as you imagine, and as I told you, like the stuff that we got was previously retranslated, and there was generally a huge, scare here in Poland about those evil Japanese animations early in the 90s, that apparently they cause seizures and make kids jump out the windows, and while my parents weren't like really giving it to that kind of a scare, like they weren't very fond of me watch that stuff, but like there was that I think it's non-functional TV station in Poland that kind of started the whole anime craze here, and they basically had the lector read over the Italian dub, and we had a lot of like very classical series such as Tiger Mask, such as Captain Tsubasa. Like I don't care for football, but everyone watched Tsubasa. Like everyone on the playground knew who Tsubasa was, basically. Like everyone watched that stuff. And another big thing that was pretty popular here, even though most boys didn't admit to watching it, was Sailor Moon. Like it's girly, it's girly. I don't watch it, but I know every single episode.
And of course, everyone crushed on Jupiter.
Jupiter had the most talent.
Yeah,
I think here in Poland it was actually Mars,
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think Mercury was underrated. The smart girl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, they all have their endearing qualities. Even Venus, who you think, oh my god, she's going to be the most annoying. No, actually, perfectly nice. And I find it so surreal that these days now the voice of Mars is one of my friends from back the VAA days. Like, Christina V comes in, perfect example of, even if you want to be an amateur voice actor back in the mid-2000s, you can then become the official Sailor Mars.
Yep. It's good stuff.
And Jupiter was definitely my favorite.
So TLDR, we won't be watching that. Everyone watch it when there was an occasion. Like there was that very old Zorro anime which I loved as a kid. Like I was dressing as Zorro as a kid. A lot of stuff that I feel is largely forgotten. Like I know that people know Tiger Mask and Tsubasa, obviously, and later on, like the two big explosions which they became kind of mainstream until they stopped, and everyone who liked them was ridiculed were Pokemon and Dragon Ball, honestly. Because kids are like that, right? Like, oh yeah, everyone is interested. Oh, it's not cool anymore. You are a dork for liking it. Lol.
Yeah, you kind of like you have that period between the ages of 12 and like 17 where it was cool. It was not cool to like anime.
Yeah.
But then eventually when you get into your 18 and plus, and you go like, oh, you watched that? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It then becomes cool to like anime again. Whereas now you don't get that. And now you can watch anime from whenever, really.
Well, an anime
many people Sorry, just as last
It's okay.
many people who I know who have been bullying people for watching that stuff actually came through to admit that they never stopped it. But I'm like, so why did you were the assholes back then? You know? Yeah.
Yeah. For me, my anime liking began in '93 when I was 13. Before that, I was all into the Disney afternoon series like Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck.
Well, I mean, I'm still into that. Disney Afternoon and anime kind of just went hand in hand for me. I have two hands, one for anime, one for the Disney Afternoon.
Yeah. But then, like eighth grade or something, '93, the Disney Afternoon show was called Bonkers, which I thought was stupid at the time. So I'm like, this is stupid now. I don't like this anymore. So another show that came on around '93 too called Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, Super
Yep.
Sentai. Mhm.
Yeah.
Also super popular here, yes.
Oh yeah.
This was my introduction to the Japanese. Because I didn't know that at the time. It was my introduction to Japanese media.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, a lot of people didn't know. It was very well put together, honestly. A rather brilliant idea when it comes to building a show around footage that was filmed in the late 70s, early 80s, and applying it to a show in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, no, they managed to make it work very well.
It made a huge cultural impact here to the point that, you know, when I have my window open, I'm pretty sure that several people got that as their phone signal because I pretty often hear, you know,
Oh,
from
yeah.
the communicator. Like, and I'm pretty sure these are not kids' phones, by the way. So I'm pretty sure I have suspicion who has this signal.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
and it's become very, very mainstream. Anime and Japanese media in general, some Korean media, all that other kind of stuff has become so mainstream that just the other day, despite the fact that Studio Ghibli movies are pretty old as far as you know the standards and stuff goes, one of the girls on my bus was wearing a Princess Mononoke print T-shirt, and I was like, Princess Mononoke, I love that, and I was because you know that it's my favorite Ghibli movie, so of course I'm going to comment on it. And she's like, "Oh, I wouldn't have thought you'd know what this is." And I was like,
What?
I grew up with Studio Ghibli. Thank you very much. That's my jam, even more so than yours. And you're sitting here telling me that you didn't think that it was something that I would even know about. That's what it's become nowadays. Is I've become the old person that people don't expect to watch anime, and it's like,
You darn whipsnappers!
Oh yeah, no, one of my nephews is like really wanting to become a streamer, and you know, I keep telling him, you know, when you're 13, you can do this. He's almost 10 now, and I keep saying you got to be nice to people, you got to be genuine to yourself, you got to prove yourself to be, you know, someone who people will want to watch. And he, I don't know whether he's just repeating what I'm saying or he's taking it to heart, but you know, it's nice to see. And you know, he's always interested about the stuff that I watch and all that stuff.
Was this nephew the son of the brother that introduced you to the anime in the first place?
No, it's my nephew on my wife's side. So,
but actually, now that I think about it, I actually was introduced to Japanese media way before that with Mario and Zelda. When I was in the late '80s, early
yeah,
90s.
admittedly, and very few people have realized that was like Japanese media when it finally got when it got television stuff over here, because it was all Western headed as far as the writing and stuff goes when they did Super Mario Brothers Super Show and the Legend of Zelda animated series.
Yeah, the marketing was so good at making it like seem like, oh, this is completely westernized. You'd have no idea.
And
that,
we watched it because luckily we didn't turn into a Goomba. So
yeah,
I think the only thing I realized it was the Mario 2 one in here is like, oh, this is based on another game. Like American Mario 2 was not the Mario 2 from Japan.
Oh, the Doki Doki Panic classic story.
Yeah, classic Doki Doki Panic story. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like I said, I grew up in the 90s. I didn't have internet until like I was 18 to 20. That's the time I ever got on the internet. So I was like completely this is all I knew, and like I didn't even know that there was the dub was different from the sub original until like my 20s. I'm like, really? This is different? Like, oh my god, it is different, a lot different.
Listen, when I started to interact with Western fans, right? When like one of the biggest shock of myself and my friends was like, oh, the West really hates GT. Oh, we didn't knew that GT was hated. Of course, it has some silly ideas that we didn't like, but like, oh, these Westerners did, really hate Dragon Ball GT. That was the biggest internet shock related to to Dragon Ball and stuff.
And do you know what's even just an equal shock is that people in our comments now are eventually getting to the point where it's like, they're going, well, GT wasn't that bad, and I'm like, what? Have people suddenly realized that GT may have actually been half decent?
It had a great kernel of an idea there with regard to like taking the story sort of back to the era of Dragon Ball after a fashion and getting to explore more of the universe and all that other kind of stuff.
They just gave up too soon.
Well, yeah, and I think it was also great that they added stakes, because one of the biggest complaints I have about Super right now actually is the fact that the Dragon Balls have become more overpowered than they ever were, because now you have all sorts of different kinds of Dragon Balls. You have the kinds of wish abuse that like we only ever saw in fan fiction and doujin back at like fan comics back in the day. And meanwhile, the one time that any sort of like piece of pseudo-official Dragon Ball media attempted to give stakes to the Dragon Ball was in GT, with the whole thing about, the Dragon Balls aren't meant to be acquired on a yearly basis every year and using wishes
by
on
the
them
same people.
by the same people all the time. The negative energy buildup is going to result in catastrophe, and that's what happened. And I liked that.
Yeah, don't get us started with the Namekian Dragon Balls. You could use those every 3 months.
Yeah, I think watching the original Dragon Ball Z, technically they were only used maybe 3, max 4 times. Like 1, the Panty Wish; 2, bringing back the Bora, I think the Indian guy.
Yes.
See, you gotta remember this though, is that we don't get to see every mundane use of the Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that they're using them very frequently, but these are artifacts of legend. They weren't designed to be found so frequently, to the point to where Bulma literally has a radar. Even if you do count the uses across the series and be like, yeah, there actually wasn't that many. When you consider it like a thing where like these are artifacts that people used to journey for decades, if not like generations, to try and find across the world, and now they're being found on a semi-regular basis and wishes being made on them, it really does create this great context and foundation for a situation like what we got with GT. It's just there was a lot of not so great execution with that good idea.
Yeah,
and as we talked before, too quick of an just giving up on the space adventure saga.
Yeah.
But okay, that's what you get.
Yeah, it got to episode 3, and then they were like, "Oh, well, okay, we're just gonna give up here."
Mind I remind you that Dragon Ball, the first saga, also wasn't like amazing at the beginning. Like it was decent, but it needed its time. Like Toriyama also wasn't so sure about the OG Dragon Ball. He could experiment because he was already famous, which a lot of people forget. But like it's not that the first saga of Dragon Ball was the most successful one, and he needed to kind of reinvent that and add some stuff. And I think that GT's biggest sin is that they gave up too quickly, and that they gave a lead to wrong characters. Like they were too attached to Goku, and some of the Goku over reliance is we are getting a hiccups from this till this day.
Was it
Yeah.
the first first not season, the first arc of Dragon Ball, the original one? That was the one that was based on the Journey to the West series.
Well, it's very loosely inspired.
Loosely.
You take it as the fact that Goku as a monkey boy was inspired by Son Goku, i.e. Sun Wukong, and then meets a person, helps a person who is attempting to find in this case the Dragon Balls, which are sort of the representation as wish granting balls, wish granting magical artifacts. They're sort of the representation of Shangri-La, and of course, then you meet characters like Oolong and Yamcha, who are sort of like inspired by characters also from the Journey to the West story and stuff like that. The Ox King is himself inspired by one of the big like antagonists of Journey to the West, but by that point things were starting to get very, very different. And Dragon Ball only really, I think, hit its stride for as a shonen manga when it decided to actually embrace like when it started becoming more of like a martial arts manga, as opposed to this journey to find the Dragon Balls and stuff like that, and meet all these different people in different cultures, and I think that's really where it started to pick up its stride.
Yeah, I think at least for me, it seems like watching it now, I do like the original much better than the dub I had in America, but for some reason I just like the American theme songs better.
I mean, I like let's see, Chala Head Chala I love as far as the theme songs from Japan, but the thing is we never I don't even know if I've heard every opening and ending that the Japanese version of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z or any of that has ever had, because it's a very, very different situation in Japan as opposed to the West, where in Japan, you know, that every so many episodes or whatever, they'll change up the opening to keep things up to date, change up the ending to keep things up to date, keep things fresh. Whereas American shows, especially American cartoons, would have a very generalized opening theme song that they just kept the whole run of something, with very few changes here and there. And that's kind of what we wound up getting with, like, say, when you look at Dragon Ball in the West, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you know, you gotta find that Dragon Ball, and then you also have Saban's Rock the Dragon opening, which was made by the same people who made the Power Ranger opening, the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger opening, because both Saban Entertainment properties, they were I think it was Shuki Levy who did the music for that. They were made to be catchy and memorable because they were going to be showing on every single episode, because there's never any intention to replace the opening back then.
You have no right to complain about no changing the opening. I'm sending the link of what we have, the French intro of the entire Z.
Oh.
The entirety of Z.
Oh,
You knew that this was happen. You knew
Have
that this
always
was
pulls
going
this
to
out. He
happen.
always
Yeah.
pulls this out. Always.
Yeah, I always point this out because, like, oh, you know, we had Chala. Oh, we had got Rock the Dragon. Oh, you know, like, it was kind of stale. No, you have no rights to complain. No, listen to this. Listen to this.
It's the French opening.
Were they trying to push Gohan as the protagonist of the show?
I have no idea. and Dragon Ball is slightly better, but like with Z, it's like when you first watch it, is Raccoon the main villain? You know, you don't know. You know that all the way from Raditz to Boo, and it's like crazy. And these are some of those really bloody scenes, which was like, you know, it was super weird. The choice of scenes is absurd. I'm sorry, I had to do this because I'm dying inside every time Westerners speak about Dragon Ball openings. So
I mean, that's the thing is I'm not complaining about it. I loved Rock the Dragon and was perfectly satisfied with it being the opening for all of Dragon Ball. This though, I could see the problem.
Yeah, there's an Ocean dub opening for GT from 2003. It's actually really good. It uses the tune of Dan Dan. But it goes, in another time or place, scattered all over space, we've got to find them all. Gotta find those Dragon Balls. But it's actually really good. And then it eventually goes into like, it's like, in a time or place, no, trying to save the world with all my friends, making the boy a man again. It's a desperate search all across the universe. It's surprisingly good. Like,
I don't know. It sounds for me like a training montage music, you know.
Yeah, but the thing is though, is that those themes are just literal, as in like about Dragon Balls. Go find them. That's it. But you keep the tune at least. The tune is kept, and I'm like, all right.
So how? Like I said, I was like 8 years before I realized it was different. How long did it take you guys? You guys know it was different than the original when you first saw it, or how long did it take you to realize this is totally different?
I started watching Dragon Ball in March 2000 when it came to the UK for the first time properly, and I then started realizing there was more to it in September when I saw Frieza getting destroyed, and I actually looked it up, and I was like, I discovered Super Saiyan 3. I discovered Dragon Ball Z AMVs. Moment after I found Dial-Up, and I found this AMV of Vegeta powering up to Super Saiyan to Metallica's "Da, my darling." Yeah, just like Vegeta kicking ass to Metallica.
Oh man, that just reminds me of that me and my brother and my cousins got into Dragon Ball Z late into the 90s. I think it was 1999 that we got into Dragon Ball Z, and we had no idea how long running the show already had been in Japan, right? So everything that came out, we thought it was new. We thought it was being produced. We didn't even realize at the time early on that it was being produced, in Japan. We thought it was just when there were those long hang-ups where we wouldn't see any episodes. We thought that just production stalled or something because poor ratings or something like that. Who knows? But like we grew up with watching the Saban owned Ocean dub on Toonami. So we grew up with Rock the Dragon. We grew up with like Peter Kalamis as Goku and Scott McNeil as Piccolo and Brian Drummond as Vegeta. And then it got into the Frieza saga, the dreaded stop, where Ocean dub wasn't doing it anymore. Saban didn't own the rights to it anymore, and eventually it started back up again. But we got exposed to the world of AMVs and the greater scope of Dragon Ball as a intellectual property being beyond what we ever thought when we learned, thanks to the internet and thanks to LimeWire, that as a Japan produced show that had been on the air for years and years and years, it went so far beyond anything we expected. We watched a video in horrendous quality that was an AMV of Broly, the Broly movies set to Mortal Kombat, the Mortal Kombat movie theme song, and it was brilliant. and we loved it so much. We spent like 2 hours downloading this really crappy quality video, this crappy quality AMV, to watch the Z Fighters just get clowned on by this guy who we just were just like, oh my god, he's so cool but so dumb.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, and it like opened up our eyes to be like, how much are we missing because we don't have the full product.
So funnily enough, like, we don't have many movies here in Poland. Like, I think we only had 2 Dragon Ball movies released: The Fusion Reborn and Wrath of the Dragon. But in terms of like the series as a whole, we actually had the old Dragon Ball first. So yeah, we watched it, and then I didn't even knew Z was a thing, and I tuned in. The first Z episode I watched, like, I heard that there is like some revelation that Goku's brothers appear, yada yada, but like the first one I saw was with Mecha Frieza and King Cold, and I'm like, oh my god, the cyborg guy is so cool. Oh, I hope he beats this guy with the sword.
Yeah, like
That's
for me,
that's why I love Frieza and Cold. That's why, like, I always have fondness for those characters. And even though like Future Trunks was my favorite Saiyan growing up, I'm still salty about this to this day. But like, this was my introduction to Z. Like, I was, oh my, this is a pretty different show.
That is so intrinsically you have. Knowing you, being friends with you, hearing you say, yeah, I was like, oh, this cyborg guy's cool. I hope he beats this guy with a sword. I'm just like sitting here like, yep, that sounds like Havorok.
yeah, like for me, like my America, like I think we didn't know Dragon Ball was a thing until after Z, because he got introduced first, is where I was from, and even then, like it's the Ocean dub thing. It was very slow coming over here, so like in the mid-90s, I saw the Saiyan saga like 20 times before they even went to the Dynamic Frieza saga. So it kept on repeating itself.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
The
The
same
first 53 episodes.
and then like they went back later. They all the way up to the middle of the Dynamic saga to the Ginyu part. Then that started repeating itself again. Same with Sailor Moon. The first 40 episodes, and then they went a little bit further into the S saga or R saga, and then that repeated itself until what's later that I found the rest of the episodes.
And then, of course, you find out about Sailor Stars. And you go,
It's never,
Oh,
it's
no.
never got a dub here.
And fun fact, going back to the VAA days, there is this guy who was doing an audition for the first episode of Sailor Stars, and I obviously auditioned for it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna I'll audition for Artemis, very well. And then I thought, you know what, I'm pretty much known for doing like female voices at the time, or like, so I thought, let's go for Setsuna, and then for Sailor Pluto, and then I got it. What?
Wow.
And I mean, it was fun to do, and it was just like, in between time and various twists, I have seen tales that I have never seen, and I learnt things from Stephen Fry doing the audiobooks of Harry Potter. Professor Trelawney. Stephen Fry has a glorious deep voice, but he can make a feminine voice work based on the lilt and the tilt and the tone and the timbre of the voice. You can make it work even though it's not convincing. You can go like,
I've actually heard a lot of that from Stephen Fry, listening to his audiobook audiobook narration of Sherlock Holmes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Exactly.
female voice is terrible. Still, I tried to dub some voices for the games I play, get them different voices, and like I can do some female voices, but my range is terrible still.
Practice makes perfect. And speaking as someone who has had to really struggle with voice related stuff because of my situation with being trans and stuff like that, I just got to tell you, it's just you gotta practice. And I mean, I'm still just an amateur, I'm not any sort of Christina V, having been in the VAA back in the early 2000s, now doing awesome professional voice work or anything like that. I'm still working towards my dream, but you got to keep it up. You just got to practice.
Exactly. And I've been doing voice acting for over nearly 20 years at this point. And I still practice.
Mhm.
I still like try and like improve myself with one step at a time. And I obviously, being in the UK, it's very difficult to try and do it, get into dubs and stuff like that. So I just make my own stuff.
I do too. Whenever time it seems like last few months, all I've been doing is working and sleeping.
I mean, nowadays you got that hustle. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or not, that remains to be seen. But always remember, have a life.
Yeah, you gotta make time for yourself. That's something that I've also had to kind of learn over the course of it's why at least in part I backed away from YouTube and stuff like that a few years back, is because I need to be able to take care of myself and also, like, it's easier for me to achieve a work-life balance when I'm not sitting there struggling, especially with the industry being as flush as it is right now, with new talent trying to come out and make a name for themselves thanks to the internet and YouTube and stuff like that. You can audition a million times and not get anywhere. And if you don't have a means of living other than that, you can find yourself very quickly fitting into the mold of starving artist, literally. So you gotta find that balance.
What are you saying, that real life and needs are overpowering making YouTube videos?
I'm just saying that as in all things, you gotta find a way to keep yourself alive and happy and healthy.
But speaking of Dragon Ball, I think more recently, the last 3 or 4 movies that came out, it's like they're more canonized with the plot than the original, like the movies from Dragon Ball Z is. Why do you think that changed?
I feel like the latest movies, they tend to like be they're more connected, definitely. But honestly, those first 2 movies, for Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, I don't believe they were intended to be canonized or in the actual super lore. I believe that was probably a quick fix because, hey, these movies are doing really well. Let's make a series. And they thought, well, okay, we can just like expand upon what we already have from the movies and just like add things. But yeah, that didn't work. I always tell people, if you're going to watch Super, just watch Battle of Gods of Resurrection F and then carry on from episode 28. Mind you, episode 27, the way that Frieza blows up the world, the way they handle that's dark in the series. In the series, that's darker. So go from episode 27 and to episode 131 and just watch the first and then watch the 2 movies.
I think, one of the reasonings is like Toriyama is more involved in the movies as well. Like it's not like something they want to do as an extra, but something that, oh hey, yeah, like especially after this long drought, I still feel that in as much as Toriyama like to mess with us fans, and to say that, oh, he likes to mess with it, or he's kind of over the series. I think in his older years, for better and for worse, he kind of missed that series and he wants to do some stuff with it. From what I've gathered, from the interviews, from what he is doing, from what he's saying in more recent years, I feel that he kind of has that ear to be more involved, and that's why the movies are more connected. Which, hey, like in case of the newest upcoming movie, it's like a lot of the stuff happening here seems, at least on the surface, to be stuff that we have been preaching for as long as we work together. Something for
That's-
Gohan checked, something for Piccolo checked, something for human character checked, something
Yeah.
grounded checked.
I think at least part of that is also because of the fact that his co-author with regards to this is an ascended fanboy in the form of Toyotaro. We all know, having been exposed to Toyotaro's work as Toyble, back in the Dragon Ball AF days, we know that he has a deep appreciation for Gohan and wants more for Gohan. We know that he likes his he really likes to bring about conflict against the Saiyan characters by virtue of them just simply being Saiyans. I'm not gonna split hairs about whether or not Zykor was any good as a character. Spoilers, he wasn't. but oh, are you okay?
Yeah. I have asthma, so
I know that. I know that pain.
But Toyotaro is good enough at emulating Toriyama's style and good enough at doing the core thing that Dragon Ball is known for these days, which is the conflict with combat and stuff like that, the fighting scenes and stuff like that. He was a good choice, but I think that the reason we're seeing a lot more of the kind of stuff that fans were clamoring for, but not everything, and not all of the most important stuff.
I feel like he's not that involved in the movies, so I think that movies seem to be more Toriyama centric vintage. Although like the newest director, let me find his name to not disrespect the man. Like I tend to forget it.
yeah. Speaking of the super revival lately, you said earlier, at least in America, people really hated at least most of the GT saga in turn out. Then later on, we had the movie that came out in America. Where,
Evolution.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, that was a case of Toriyama. Granted, he was the executive producer, but they didn't pay attention to him.
Yeah.
So basically, that was just unfortunate, really.
So, but
There was some decent pop. The second half of that movie was fairly decent. Like they picked things up, but that first half was no. I actually did a discussion a few weeks ago about how would you handle a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel based on the first one.
Yeah,
Don't fix the first one. And I thought, well, okay, we can make this work. And by the end of it, I'd have it that Raditz would show up for the third in trilogy.
And then I made a comment on there. I think you heard it says in the mid credit roll scene or in credit roll scene, we find out Chi-Chi's pregnant with Gohan.
That would probably be like, I probably would actually end the whole thing with like Goku fighting Vegeta, and it just ends. It ends on that fight. Goku coming face to face and leaving it open-ended about whether he ends up going into space. And having Gohan, having a future, having a life, and the story continues as you may expect. Just
sorry,
go on.
That's one thing I did like about the movie. Even though it wasn't, I don't like Goku's infatuation with her, but I like that Chi-Chi was actually a little bit of a fighter in that movie.
Yeah, Chi-Chi was perfectly done. It was just the fact that Goku had a crush on her hard. It was like, okay.
It was too High School Musical sort of teenage
hero
rom-com situation. Him crushing on Chi-Chi like super hard, making him sort of like the place that the relationship stems from, which is totally not the case. The whole like what was it, Geeko? It's like, excuse you, like Goku is not. This is not Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, guys.
I actually found it really endearing that several years later, Justin Chatwin ended up in Doctor Who as the Ghost. and
As a
just this
superhero, yeah.
he was a superhero with the word letter G on his costume, and I'm like, good for you, Justin. Good for
Yeah.
you. I'm glad it's like, you know, in the line he goes, Grandpa, I'm so happy to see you. It's like, Justin, I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad you didn't quit. And I'm
Yeah,
glad you're in Doctor Who.
you have to feel bad for Justin for that movie. Also, I checked it. Tetsuro Kodama is the director of Superhero. I'm sorry.
Yes,
The
But
person that I feel bad for is James Marsters because
Yeah.
but I still find it. They actually made Piccolo white originally.
oh
And it was
yeah,
James-
I mean
It was James Masters who went like, excuse me, no, Piccolo is Namekian, he is green, change it. And they had to
yeah,
change it.
they had already changed so much too because apparently James Marsters is actually a huge Dragon Ball fanboy. So when he was
Yeah.
told you're going to play King you know, when he went in for the audition and got cast as King Piccolo, he's like, "Yes, my dream." And then they started changing stuff just the whole like so heavy-handedly. And the only reason we have for even superficial similarity between King Piccolo in the movie and the anime counterpart is purely just because he demanded something from these people.
Yeah, and lo and behold, he then goes on to play another green character in the form of Zamasu.
Wrap things up real fast. Real fast. You think if Super came out and that was the last thing that people saw Dragon Ball, would we start falling down a bit about now?
I feel like if Dragon Ball Super episode 131 was the last thing that we saw, that would be a bit of a bittersweet.
I mean, if Evolution was the last thing we saw without Super.
No.
That would have just been the wettest fart you'd have ever seen.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah. In a
what
way,
kind of a
you
whimper
know,
would that be for the franchise?
A winter
I mean-
of discontent.
there are a lot of franchises, you know, like it's despite what people are saying, it's hard to kill a franchise, really. Like if there is a fandom to a franchise, like it might disappear, but like fandoms, it's what keeps franchises alive, and sooner or later somebody would like pick that up, maybe rehash this, reboot. It might be the end of Dragon Ball as we know it, because like it's you know like it's been continuing without any major rehashes / for GT, but GT was always in its own little pocket, right? It was like that's continuing for so many years without any major canon cuts, you know. So I think that if Evolution was the last thing we saw, somebody eventually would have like rebooted the whole thing and make a new Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
Would it be
would have
better?
happened eventually.
Yeah. Would it be better? Not really, but like, yeah, like would be a shame. But on the other hand, like I don't know, like I as many modern fans, I have a kind of love-hate relationship with Super. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it, you know.
There are moments where you just kind of like pound your head against the wall and just go like, why did you do that?
And sometimes you're like, oh, that was neat, you know.
Exactly.
You think it was a good idea? You like the idea that they're filling in that time gap between Z and Z?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just I feel like it's good that they filled that gap. It's good they did, but I feel like we now need to move into a time area where we don't actually know what happens.
Yeah, to up the
Because that's the
stakes.
biggest complaint that a lot of people have. It's just we already sort of know the outcome.
Thankfully, we're finally getting Teenage Goten and Trunks for how
Yes.
many years? Oh my
Too long, frankly.
family.
Like I said, I still think they can also fill. I don't know if they can fill the gap in between the 7-year time gap between Cell and Boo, but there's like you don't know anything that happened there besides Vegeta trained and Gohan didn't.
Yeah.
But
No, exactly.
right, so you have anything coming up on your channel you want to advertise?
Well, we of course I've got our April Fool What If coming out on April 1st. Obviously, we're not going to tell you what it is. You have to subscribe to find out what it is.
Yeah, be there, be square.
Exactly.
And also next episode of Revelation F.
Coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Exciting
episode
stuff
22.
is coming.
Look
Yeah.
forward to the true star of Revelation F, General Magnet.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, coming next Saturday, if I can get if I can find a guest for it, I'm going to be talking about marsupials.
Nice.
Marsupials.
Marsupials, the original Pokemon pocket monsters.
Wow.
Oh.
That sounds interesting.
So do you guys have a catchphrase to say at the end of your show? So you want to say now?
Oh, I don't have any catchphrase, Moss.
Well,
It's
as
catch you
always,
later.
Oh, it's as I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.
Havorok, you have any catchphrases?
Not right now.
Havorok.
My catchphrases are usually at the beginning, not at the end. I just say bye-bye.
Yes. It's an hello
Hello.
or just bora.
Yeah.
And as I always say, never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. I'll see you next time. Bye.